Hello students and welcome to part 2 of our lesson, The Call of the Soil. In the previous video, we have seen how this techie, that is Venkateshwaran Iyer, he moved from his well-established career, being an IT person, working in good companies, how he decided to shift his lifestyle, make change in his lifestyle completely, and move away from all the hustle and bustle of the world to a lonely small village only to practice agriculture or to grow his own crops. And we have seen how he shares his experience about growing the first crop on his own on the land that belongs to him, okay, and the feeling that he experienced throughout the entire period, okay. So this is the second part where he tells us about another incident that took place in his life, and an important incident which brought so many new things to light to Venkateshwaran Iyer and also to us, since we will be getting to know about his experiences. So let us start with the second part, and the name of this part is The Scent of Rice. So here Venkateshwaran Iyer, he says that the first year he was actually late for the rice sowing season. Okay, there is a particular time when you have to sow the seeds for rice, growing rice. But if you are late, if you do not sow the seeds at the correct time, the rice seeds during the correct time, then it might be a little difficult for the rice seeds to grow well. Okay, so here we see that due to some reasons he did not sow the seeds of rice well in time, and so they had to finally resort to growing the GR4 variety. Okay, now this variety of rice, it was short term and it was recommended by the agricultural officers at Coast Guard. So they said that since now you've lost some time, you need to grow the rice which will require less time to grow. Okay, so GR4 was such kind of a rice, a variety, and so he said that you can grow this type of rice over here. So the next year, he thought that, since this year, because of the problem that took place, we could not cultivate the proper rice. He decided that next year he will start early and he would try to find some good traditional variety of rice to grow. Okay. Now we eat some type of rice, but we are not very much familiar with the varied varieties of rice, and what kind of rice is traditional and what kind of rice is hybrid. We do not know, okay, because we are just the consumers, we are not the producers, so we do not know exactly what all different types of rice we have. But because Venkateshwaran Iyer, he had read so many things about farming and agriculture and all of those things, he was aware that there were a few traditional variety of rice, and he was determined that next year when he wants to grow or cultivate rice, he will begin well in advance, and by that time he will find some good variety of traditional rice and he would grow that. Okay, so he had read about traditional varieties of rice, and he knew that why now, another reason why he wanted to grow the traditional variety of rice was that this type of rice did not require very high inputs of fertilizers. Now we see, we have already heard in the first part of the lesson. Okay, we see where Venkateshwaran, he wanted to cultivate moong. Okay, so that time also he was not very much for the use of fertilizers and chemicals. He did not actually use at all. Okay, and without the use of chemicals and fertilizers, he got such beautiful yield. So here also he tells us that he wants to use the traditional variety of rice. Why? Because it requires very minimal, okay, very minimal amount of fertilizers, and so these varieties were very good or quite strong, and it resisted pests. So you will see that other varieties of rice, okay, would attract pests easily, okay, all the insects easily, and then there was a lot of loss in the harvest. Okay, so he was sure that traditional variety of rice, first of all, it required less chemicals and pesticides and fertilizers. Secondly, it also was resistant towards pests, and it was quite strong. So because of all these features, he decided and he was determined that he would cultivate traditional rice. So he was sure that it was this type of rice that would grow well into his farm. And he did not use any chemicals that we are very much aware about. So he was sure that it was only traditional variety of rice which would grow over there. If he had to use any other type of rice plantation, then he would have to use chemicals, which he was against it. Okay, so he decided that we will cultivate that type of rice which will not require chemicals, and traditional rice was one of them. So his previous year's experiences gave him this experience that low yield, it had taught them a lesson. And they were sure that they will not plant hybrids this year. So like we said, the previous year, that is that first year when they were supposed to grow rice, and when they were late and they cultivated GR4. So GR4 is a hybrid rice, okay, and there they had got that experience that hybrid rice gave them a very less yield, okay, very less harvest, very less outcome of the seeds that they had planted. And so they decided that this is the first and the last time we are going to plant hybrid. Next year onwards, we are going to do only traditional rice farming. So in April 2005, they decided to look for a good variety of traditional rice. Now it is one of his neighbors in the village who was a businessman from Mumbai, and he owned his own land. So he suggested that they should plant a low scented variety of rice. Okay, so he, like, you kind of keep discussing what they are doing, what they are not doing, and all of those things. And during this time, this neighbor of Venkateshwaran Iyer, he suggested him that he should grow this kind of a variety of rice. Now, most of the farmers in and around the village of Pet where he was staying, okay, they had switched over to hybrids. Okay, why? Because hybrids were, they were such kind of crops which required very little time to grow. Okay, so you just plant sow the seeds, and within few months you will find the harvest. Okay, you will get the harvest. So because of these reasons, and also because of various other reasons, the people in the villages, the farmers, they had just, switched over to growing only hybrid plantation or seeds or a variety of crops. Okay, they did not want to continue with the traditional farming. So the younger generation of farmers, when Venkateshwaran Iyer, he started inquiring about the seeds of traditional rice, the younger generation of farmers, they thought that he is crazy. Okay, and when everybody else is growing hybrid, why is he choosing to grow traditional variety of rice? And so they call this traditional variety as desi variety. Okay, so they were just discussing and thinking that he is crazy to decide to cultivate desi variety of rice. So his regular visits to the villages around searching for a good traditional variety did not yield any results, and they were almost giving up hope. Okay, because he was going on asking so many people in his village and around his village, in the other villages as well. He was going on asking everybody if they had any seeds for traditional variety of rice, and nobody had any seeds because everybody literally was, had given up traditional rice plantation, and they had now continued with hybrid seeds. So of course they will not have any kind of traditional seeds. So he decided also to give it one last chance. Okay, now he was searching for many months, and finally he just, said that I'll give a last chance, and he spoke to Baban's father, okay, and some other elders in the village. And after some meaningful conversation, these elderly people, because they have been doing farming for quite some years now, they had a lot of experience about the various traditional rice, and they mentioned a type of rice known as kasbai. Okay, kasbai is a traditional or the desi type of rice that used to be cultivated many years ago. Okay, so as you can see in the picture, so here we get he describes kasbai rice. He says that kasbai is a traditional long grained rice variety which has a very distinct aroma. Okay, a very noticeable aroma it has, and it is much milder though than basmati. Now we all are aware about basmati. Yes, my dear students, we all are aware. It is earlier it was such a time when basmati used to be cooked during special occasions. Even now it is that way. People do cook basmati only during special occasions because of course they are costly, and because of the richness of the rice. Okay, so like basmati, kasbai also was a traditional variety of rice, which was again long, like basmati. How it is also long, and also it had a very noticeable aroma. Okay, very different aroma that it had. And it was there, but not as much as basmati. But yes, of course you would get that aroma. So of course the rice was really very good, and it is a long duration crop. Now what is a long duration crop? Long duration crop as in, if you plant the seeds for this crop, it will take quite some time for the crop to yield the fruit, okay, or the harvest. For the harvest, it'll take quite some time. Okay, so what people used to do is they just gave up, because during that entire period of cultivating one particular type of rice, people you would do two times the plantation. So once, like suppose, if this type, that is kasbah, would take 6 months, okay, for the from the right up from the time of sowing the seeds up to the harvest, it would take 6 months. Then other seeds or the other types of rice or the hybrid rice would take just say 3 months. So they could sow seeds twice and also get the harvest twice. So this was another reason. So it is a long duration crop, and most of the older people remember growing it years ago, and they all shook their heads when Venkateshwar and Iyer started asking them about the seeds. And they just told him that the seeds had disappeared. Actually, the seeds had disappeared was why it happened, because people just stopped cultivating that type of rice, that is kasbai. Okay, and so eventually now they did not have any seeds left to cultivate this rice. So the taste of Kasbai made Venkateshwaran Iyer more determined to get it. He was like, now he started hearing so many good things about Kasbai that he was now determined that I want to cultivate Kasbai. Okay, nothing doing, nothing, no other crop will I cultivate except for Kasbai. So he decided that if he could, manage to get some seeds at least, then it would be a great rice to grow, at least for a start. Then out of whatever yield he gets, again he will get some more seeds for the next year. So he thought that since people in the village do not know, but government will surely know about it, because they keep records of the various types of rice grown all over the country. So he decided to turn towards the government. So he visited the agricultural officer, and that visit was again enlightening, because the officer over there, he had never ever heard of this variety of rice. So he said, because he did not hear the variety of rice, he was telling Venkateshwara Iyer that villagers are taking you for a ride. That is, they are kind of fooling you. They are fooling you by telling that there is this particular rice. I am not aware about anything like that, and I'm sure there is no variety of rice named kasbai. So he just denied the claim that Venkateshwaran Iyer was making, that he wanted kasbai seeds to cultivate. So that is what happened. So he just rattled off, that is, he just spoke the names of some number of hybrid seeds. So the government officer over there, now because everybody around was cultivating hybrid seeds, the government officer, he also was aware about only hybrid seeds. So he started naming various hybrid seeds, and he said that you can even take some free for trial, and you can start cultivating hybrid variety of rice. Then Venkateshwara Iyer, when he heard these things, being spoken by the government official, he cursed himself, and he thought that he was simply wasting his time being here, because the government official was not ready to understand the reason why Venkateshwaran Iyer wanted to cultivate this crop. And secondly, he did not have the kasbai seed. So there is no point waiting over there and talking to him. So he moved to the next destination. Now, this time it was the Adivasi Mahamandal. So he thought that, instead of this, I will go to some other place, and where I might, inquire some more. So he went to this firm, that is Adivasi Mahamandal. It is in Kasa village. And this firm, what they do is they buy rice from the Adivasi villagers, okay, on behalf of government. So these are like middlemen between the government and the Adivasi. So what they will do is they will go and they will purchase some other rice that is cultivated by the Adivasis. Okay, and then they will maybe sell that rice to the further means. So Kasbai did not figure in their fields as well. So there also where when he went, he did not find Kasbai being grown by the Adivasis either. So a good indication why people did not grow it more is because nobody was ready to purchase it. So if it was not purchased by anyone, then why would the farmers cultivate it? Because then their cultivation will just go for waste while the others cultivation will be bought. Okay, so they all just decided to give up cultivating kasbai and started then cultivating other varieties of rice. So this was another reason that the market did not recognize kasbai as a good variety of rice, and so nobody grew it. Okay, so the officer in charge there, even in the Adivasi Mahamandal, he also had more knowledge of rice, but he did not remember for a long time. But later he remembered that kasbai was sold to him a few years ago, and he gives a reference of the person where Venkateshwaran Iyer can find the seeds for kasbai. So they start moving towards that place, towards that person's house, and they reach in Dhaniwari. Okay, there was this another village called Dhaniwari, and they reach there, and Baban and he they both started looking for Devu Handa. Now Devu Handa was the name of the person, probably who would guide them towards the kasbai seeds. Okay, maybe he might have those seeds. So they started searching for Devu Handa, and they finally found him. An old person who was sitting on a with a cap, wearing a cap in front of his house on a charpot. Okay, you can see in the picture that is called a charpot. So he was sitting on the charpot, quite old person. Now he was the ex sarpanch of the village, and he had lots of land, like acres of land, a huge house, and a large family. So this is how he describes him. So they go over there, they start talking to him, they start having conversation that yes, we are from this village, that this, that. And after exchanging a lot of polite things, like having a very polite conversation, they come to the topic of Kasbai. Okay. Now, as soon as they mention the name Kasbai, Devu Handa just drifted into the past. He just moved. It had it brought a great flashback into his mind as soon as these people mentioned the name of Kasbai. And flashback, because now the very fact, when I say something to you, you would have the flashback of that incident only when that incident is very close to your heart. So for Devu Handa also, Kasbai was very close to his heart. We'll see why. So his eyes started turning dreamy, and his voice started trembling. And he told them how the entire village at one time grew only kasbai. So he started telling that, in our village, there was a time when the entire village, everybody over here in their farms used to cultivate only kasbai rice. Okay. And he said that there was this time when people who would pass our village, okay, nearby people who would pass alongside our village, they would just stop during lunch time, and they were forced to come here into our houses and have a meal, because the smell or the aroma of kasbai was so tempting, so captivating, and it was so good, so mysteriously attractive, that everybody who passed could smell the rice being cooked in every house, because everybody cultivated kasbai, and so whatever they would cultivate they would cook in their own houses. So the during lunchtime the aroma was in every house, and this aroma filled the entire village, okay, with this beautiful and alluring smell or aroma of kasbai. And not only the villages but also the ones passing by could get that aroma and stop there to have. So such amazing crop variety of rice was kasbai. So he said that the entire area would have this, aroma, strong smell hanging in the air, and all the houses cooked the same rice. So this was what happened. But he says that today no one grew kasbai. There was a time when each and every individual in that village grew only kasbai. But today we are in such condition that nobody, literally nobody grows kasbai, and everybody has shifted to growing new hybrid varieties. Okay, so he claimed that he himself was forced, so he claimed that he had to force himself to eat this rice, okay, which was so tasteless. So person who has had kasbai rice would never ever give up that rice and eat the rice that maybe we all are eating today, okay, because they have tasted the beautiful and the amazing taste of kasbai rice, and so for them this rice is completely tasteless. So he says that he himself is not at all willing to eat this rice, he only would enjoy kasbai. So he told them that with the arrival of irrigation, what happened, the like these people, they wanted to know exactly what happened suddenly that everybody shifted to the hybrid variety. So he told that when irrigation started coming in, farmers were tempted to grow a second crop. Like they wanted to grow some more crops in that particular span of time. Okay, so they just gave up kasbai because it was a long duration rice, like I told you, and this rice was replaced by short duration hybrids. Okay, so hybrids would grow faster and the harvest could be done earlier. So when you harvest earlier, then the farmers could take up a second crop, while the ones who are cultivating kasbai would be still waiting for their harvest of the first crop. So this was the other reason that took place. Now they then told that okay, if others had to give up on cultivating kasbai, why did you do that? Did anybody force you to cultivate kasbai? So he smiled and he replied that it was not that anybody forced me, but I was forced with the conditions that came up in this regard. Like what used to happen is, like these people, they do not have fences for their farms, okay, or for their fields. So what would happen, while Devu Handa would have the kasbai, okay, kasbai rice still growing, the other farmers would have already harvested the first crop from their fields. So what they would do after harvesting the first crop, they would leave their cattle, they would release their cattle into the fields just to go and graze over there over the fields. But these cattle, then what they would do, because Devu Handa's field was completely covered with kasbai plantation, they would leave the other fields and come there and have a treat. So Devu Handa started facing a lot of loss because all these cattle would come into his field and destroy his field completely. And this would happen time and again. And because he was the only one who was cultivating kasbai, over the years later on, and so the cattle was aware about that, and so they would just come into his field and destroy everything. So because of that reason, then he also had to stop and start cultivating like the others did. So sometimes he tells that we have to fall in line with the community, and he started lamenting, or he started expressing his sorrow about how he had to finally give up on cultivating kasbai. So hybrids, then he tells them that hybrids need more water. Of course, we know that because it is not a natural plantation. Okay, so of course it will require everything more, like more water, more fertilizers, more pesticides, and he says that yields initially are good, but of late they reduce a lot. And also he said that each year they had to increase the quantity of urea and pesticides they use. So with this, what is happening? They are spoiling the quality, natural quality of the soil, and also the yield that they are getting is not healthy enough. It's not natural. It's all artificial. Okay, so this is what the problem was. But in spite of knowing this, he did not have any other option but to cultivate hybrid. So it was as if the newer hybrids had an insatiable appetite. Okay, that means impossible to satisfy. They would just require more and more chemicals every year. And he tells Venkateshwaran Iyer that Kasbai rice is so good that one year, okay, in one year, during one year, around in 60s, 1960s, there was a flash flood in their village. Flash flood means, floods especially during rainy season. So these floods came into their village, and all of them literally had to evacuate the village and go to the neighboring villages. After they came back, he remembers that kasbai rice which was in his field was still standing still. Okay, and they all returned to the village. Even after the floods, the humans could not survive. This rice plantation was, so strong that it survived even the floods. So he says that such is the plantation, or the variety, or the quality of kasbai rice, and he feels sorry that he had given up, and he feels as if he can undo the entire situation and go back to cultivating kasbai. So this is how he describes kasbai to our writer, and so his willingness of getting the seeds becomes more and more. Okay, so he went on reminiscing about the rice, like, recollecting his memories, sweet memories about the cultivation of this rice. And these people did not have much time to sit there and listen. They actually wanted to get the seeds, so they brought him back and told him that why they actually were there. And then he tells them that yes, you will not find any seeds in this village, but he guided them to another place, that is the Adivasis in a hamlet means a place, a settlement which is smaller than village. Okay, so there was this hamlet at the foothills of the mountains in the next village, Asavari. So he said that you can go there, and there are these Adivasis who cultivate these the kasbai rice. Okay, so you can go there and find, maybe you might get the seeds over there. So they bid farewell to him, and Devuhanda, he lovingly blesses him, because this crop is so dear to him, and these people are going to, get the seeds so that they can cultivate this crop. So he is very happy about it, and he blesses him, saying that Mahalakshmi, the local goddess, will give you the seeds of kasbai. And these people then start moving towards their journey, towards the village. So in Asavari village, he asks, so they reach this village, and he asked the sarpanch to help us, because the language that they speak over there, the local dialect means a form of language which is peculiar to a specific region. Like, to those regional people, they have this particular way of speaking. Okay, so they were not very familiar with that particular dialect, and so they asked the sarpanch to just help them out with finding the seeds. So the Sarpanch, he gives them his assistant, that is Jeevan, and he tells that, Jeevan will come along with you and help you to find the seeds you want. So Jeevan accompanies them. They start walking, and after a half an hour walk through the thick vegetation, crossing numerous streams and ditches, and scrambling over rocks and gravels, they finally reach the sleepy hamlet of Boripada. Like, you can see here in the pictures, nobody is there over there. It's quite silent and very peaceful. Okay, so they reach this particular hamlet, and there they find, two ramshackle houses. Ramshackle means it's in a severe state of despair, and like in disrepair, and it's not in a proper condition, and it's there, and there is one woman who's sitting right in front of this house. So they wondered if they were in the right place. So he told Jeevan to approach the woman and ask her about the seeds of kasbai. So Jeevan asks him, and she starts muttering in reply. And again, then they look at Jeevan as to what she's saying. So Jeevan, he smiles and he says that yes, she does have the seeds for kasbai rice, and but she wanted to know who these people are and why they wanted the seeds for the rice. So now at this point, Venkateshwaran Iyer, he was so happy, because he was hunting for this rice for months together, and since this woman had that rice, he just wanted to hug her. Okay, and thank her for having that rice, but he just had to control his emotion. And he explained to her that they were from that particular village nearby, and they wanted the seeds to grow it. So he told that, can you just give us 10 kilograms of rice, She started muttering and scowl. Now muttering, because like muttering as in, you say something in a low voice, just because you're irritated, like, oh, I don't know what she's like. We do that, so she also started muttering, and she was like angry face, because the reason being because she was not understanding where they have come from. And another reason was because she did not have weighing scale, because she was in a small hamlet, so you can't expect people to have weighing scale, because maybe this is the first time that somebody's come to ask for that much kilogram of rice. So she was willing to give the seeds only in a basket. So she said, I don't have weighing scales, so I will give you the seeds, but in a basket. So then they tell her that just give us one basket of rice, that's enough. And then Jeevan tells Venkateshwaran that please pay her something because you're taking the rice. So Venkateshwaran happily hands her over 100 rupees note. And this woman, she has such amazing smile, such broad smile. So he says, in the last 10 minutes that they were speaking to her, this is the first time that she smiled so well, and she was nodding her head in approval. So as you know that she was very happy with the deal. So they took the rice and they started walking back against the fading sunset, leaving behind a smiling old lady. And he was just wondering, that it is here in the foothills of an unknown mountain, away from all the hustle and bustle of the road, where the real people of India lived. Now, why is he saying that? Because these are the people who are protecting the the natural richness that we are gifted here in India. Not only in India, throughout the world. The nature has given us with enough and more richness that it has. But we humans are using all the possible, new skills, and destroying the natural, the natural variety that is already available to us. Okay, so he realizes that these people are so innocent. They are cultivating those particular crops with which they are not at all harming the nature, and at the same time they are protecting the integrity of the farming and the agriculture that they practice. So they, for him, these were the real people of India, unlike others who are continuously using pesticides and fertilizers and chemicals and all the other things, just because they want good yield, and overlooking the harm that they are doing to the mother earth. Okay, so he realized that these were the people who still held on to the rich biodiversity of our land, and nobody even cared about them. Nobody would even reach out to them and help them doing to do what they do best. Okay, so he realized that these people had never heard of hybrids, even not even heard of pesticides or fertilizers, nothing. They just used to sow the seeds and then harvest the crops. That's all that they would do. Okay, so they just grew their rice and ate whatever they got, without manipulating the entire process of cultivating the crop. And so the old lady that they met had probably never even left Voripada, but she was untouched by the progress that was happening throughout the world. And Venkateshwaran Vayar, since he had come from that field, he had seen how the human progress is uh, taking us, of course, to great heights, but at the same time spoiling the natural richness that we have. Okay, so he was happy that this old lady, she was unspoiled by the progress that the entire world was facing at that time. And for that one particular reason, he was very grateful that she has not been exposed to all of these things, because otherwise she also would have been like the other people who would use all these kinds of chemicals and spoil the natural fertility of the soil. So he just wants to share his feeling about this entire process with us, students, dear students. Why? Is because we, or you rather, are the future of this country, of this entire planet. Okay, and it is in your hands how to take this planet ahead. Do you want to live in a healthy environment, or do you want to live in an unhealthy environment? People out there are producing every kind of crops, vegetables, fruits, everything, but how far are those things good for us human beings? How far are they healthy? How far are they natural? Is what question we all have to ask ourselves. Okay, and if those things are good enough, then why today everybody is preferring organic vegetation? Why they are not ready to have the vegetation that comes directly from the markets? Okay, so that is one question that we have to ask ourselves, my dear students. And I'm sure this lesson will bring a lot of enlightenment to you about farming and agriculture. So I hope you have already read the first part. Please do read the second part as well, and start solving the brainstorming section in your textbook, which is on page number 31. Okay. So until then, thank you and have a nice day.